Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tada Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhischa Kripa Sindhave Vacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, good morning, devotees. I yesterday was attempting to answer some questions that had come to my inbox, and I was able to really only get one question answered. And it may be like that I can only try to answer one question at a time. Of course, also, I don't consider myself like very high class of devotee, everything. So fortunately, by answering the questions on this format, it allows for more senior devotees also to correct things that I might make a mistake on. That is for my benefit and also for the benefit of the persons who originally asked the question. I do my level best. I'm doing my level best to answer according to what I've heard from Guru Sadhu and Sastra. So I'm also begging the mercy of my Guru Parapadma, Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Stotara Satasisiman, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, to bestow his causeless mercy on me, as well as our whole Rupanuga Guru Varga, to give some proper answer to two questions which I've merged into one from yesterday. Besides the question yesterday about the nature of the free will in the jiva, there were other questions that were asked, and those questions centered around, one was the eligibility to practice Raganuga Bhakti. And the question actually that preceded that question was the nature of how we purify ourselves through bhakti. So in the ensuing conversation that I did have briefly with that devotee, because I was trying to get a sense of what was meant by purifying ourselves, and they were saying that like we take, any other modality and use it to affect some change in ourselves. So we're utilizing the process of bhakti to purify ourselves. So I wanted to make a small adjustment in that understanding. And so I'm in part answering that question first, as to whether or not we are using bhakti to purify ourselves. And the thing that I wanted to be careful of was the idea that we are the doer in the endeavor of purification. Actually, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has clearly declared, Prakriti kriyamanani gunai kamni savasha ahamkara vimudatma karataham iti manyate. That the concept of being the karana or karata is called ahamkar. The concept that I am the doer or cause of things is the very fundamental principle of ahamkar. So we want to be careful that even in the practice of bhakti, that we don't carry over the tendency of ahamkara into the practice of bhakti. And what I mean by that is to think that the power that we have to utilize bhakti is what is purifying the jiva. That's not the case. There are two factors in practice of bhakti. One is called our endeavor, our notion, our desire, and our endeavors in the form of sadhana. And the greater part of the efficacy of bhakti comes from bhakti itself, bhaktiya sanjatya bhakti, right? Bhakti itself is the producer of bhakti, and therefore the primary ingredient in our purification is actually kripa, or mercy. So sadhana is a invocation to Shri Guru and Guru Parampara and Vaishnavas to show their mercy on us. So it is not that there is a power in us that when we perform sadhana, I'm going to become purified. Rather, we should feel, I will perform sadhana as a show of my desire. And then that desire is fulfilled by the mercy of the agency of Bhagavan through Guru, Vaishnavas, and by their mercy, this is how any purification is taking place. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, if looking closely at his Bhajan Ohe Vaishnav Thakur, he says, Ekaki amara nahi pai bhal harinam sankirtane. That by myself alone, I don't find the Bala means power to take Harinam. Harinam is directly the sound manifestation of Shri Shri Radha Krishna Yugal. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, I don't find within myself the power to take this Harinam. So he's acknowledging that the power to take Harinam comes from Kripa. So Krishna say, Tumara Krishna deti paro, tomara shakati ache. Who has that power? Oh, Vaishnav Thakur. You have that power. You have Krishna in your possession and you have the power to give him. So this should be our feeling that actually it is Guru Vaishnav Kripa, because they are the agency of Bhagavan manifest before us, right? They are the agency through which bhakti enters the heart of the aspiring sadhaka, and by that means they are becoming purified. It is not like endeavors that we've been considering in the material world for so long, that I am the doer and I am the cause, and because I've done and I've caused, there is a result. We are begging for mercy by the form of our sadhana and our endeavor to follow the outline of bhakti, and then by the mercy of Vaishnava and Guru, their kripa becomes the results of that, and that is how we're becoming purified. So I wanted to answer that devotee's question in clarity and allow them to meditate on understanding becoming purified in the proper mindset. The next question was about eligibility for Raganuga Bhakti. Really, the question was not eligibility. The question was, sort of, kind of what is Raganuga? I don't have the question in front of me, so I'm just still paraphrasing, but kind of what is Raganuga Bhakti, and, sort of why is it, this question also, and part of it was, why is it, sort of hidden from us? And I didn't quite get the context of that, because I don't know exactly. This was someone who was piggybacking on the question of the other person, so I don't know their situation and where they are, what affiliations and associations they have. But Raganuga Bhakti is not hidden per se, but there is obviously some desire to make sure that there is some sensibility about what is Raganuga Bhakti, first of all, and also understanding what is true eligibility for practicing Raganuga Bhakti, but it's certainly not discouraged. Rather, Raganuga Bhakti is our line. We are a line of practicing Raganuga Bhakti. Right, even Mahaprabhu mentioned, Aishwarya Ganete, Sakle Jagata Mor Mashrit, Aishwarya Shaitila Prem, Nahi Mor Preet. So in Adi Lila, Mahaprabhu was told that Vaidhi Bhakti, which leads to Aishwarya, Vaikuntha Aishwarya, this is not as pleasing to me because it makes devotion in the wake of the mood of the Brajbasis. It kind of weakens that when we have the mindset of worshiping God only in Aishwarya. So it's clear that in our line, the practice is Raganuga Bhakti, but understanding clearly in perspective what that means. So first of all, what is rag? So in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami Pad is described, this day swarasika raga palmaveshtita bhavet tanmayi yad bhavet bhakti shatra ragatma kodita. So rag means when we have a complete absorption in the object of our worship. And having that complete absorption in the object of our worship, this is called rag. So then Srila Rupa Goswami Pad is mentioned that virajitam abhivyaktam brajavasi janadeshu ragatmikam anusrita yasa raganuga uchyate. So what is raganuga bhakti? It is understanding that that raga that I just mentioned in the previous verse is in the heart of the Brajvasis, means the eternal servants of Krishna in Golok Vrindavan, and following in the wake of that mood of their absorption, that is called rag anuga. So the word anuga means, anugamana means to follow. Now also if you take the word anu in anugamana and you break that down even further, anu not only means to continuously follow someone, but also it means anutva. Anutva means understanding that the jiva is very tiny, very minute, and therefore it indicates humility. Because when the jiva understands their anutva, their minuteness in relation to Guru, to Bhagavan, then they can have some sense of the need to follow the mood of the residents of Braj, but with great humility. So there won't be a sense of entitlement, there won't be a sense of jumping, so to speak, to try to immediately obtain the state of practice of Raganuga. So one will want to go very carefully in great humility to approach what is Raganuga Bhakti. Now, factually speaking, if you look at the outline of the program given by our acharyas, including our Srila Prabhupada, the program itself is inherently Raganuga-based practice. If you study closely the morning program given by our Srila Prabhupada, then the Guru Ashtakam, the Tulsi Parikrama and Tulsi Stav and Stuti, and everything else is all, when you read the meaning of the words, they're all based in the mood of Braj, and it's about Raganuga Bhakti. So if I am not yet at the level of eligibility, then what is it I'm practicing? Because Vaidhi Bhakti can have different meanings. One meaning, obviously, Rupa Goswami has also described Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Yatra Ragna Aptadvat Pravritti Upajayate Shashneva Shastrasya Swavari Bhaktir Uchyate. That when we are practicing bhakti according to the rules and regulations of scriptures, with an inherent fear of not following those rules and regulations, that is called Vaidhi Bhakti. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad is also written in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu. Shravanam Kirtanandini, Vaidhi Bhakti Sudam, no, I'm sorry. Shravanam Kirtanandini, Sastra Sasyena Bhayena. That when we are practicing the Vidhi, rules and regulations of Sastra, out of fear, two kinds of fear here. One is that by not following them, I will have to suffer. And the other one is by not practicing them, if my aim and objective was to go to Vaikuntha, I will not obtain my goal. So those are two kinds of fear-based practice in relation to Vaidhi Bhakti. So Raganuga Bhakti was also described by Srila Rupa Goswami Pad. Krishna Smaram Janam Chasya Nija Prestam Samanvita. That the practice of Raganuga Bhakti essentially means aspiration to follow the residents of Braj. And how will we do that? Seva Sadika Rupena Siddha Rupena Chatrahi Tadbhava Lipsanakara Vraja Lokanusarata. So the last line, especially Vraja Lokanusarata, means that we will follow the residents of Braj, any eternal associate of Braj, when we have come to the proper level of eligibility, and I'll explain that in a minute. But right now, we will follow Vraja Lokanusarta, meaning our Goswami Varga on down to our own Srila Gurudev. So how my Gurudev is practicing bhakti, following that with the desire to obtain the mood of service of the residents of Braj, this is called Raganuga Pravritti, and at the level of starting with Ruchi, it is Raganuga Bhakti. So let me explain that. Until one's bhakti has become nishta, then the oscillation and the pramad means the constant interferences in the mind, won't allow one to practice bhakti steadily. There are 27 things. I'm not going to go through all of the Madhurya Kandamini here, but if you study Madhurya Kandamini, you'll see there are 27 things essentially which make up the platform of Anistita Bhakti, right? So coming past those 27 obstacles, then one comes to the platform of Nishta. When there is Nishta in Bhajan, and the mind, which does acceptance and rejecting, has been kind of pacified, and is not so much under the influence of the material energy, at that time, Tat Bhava Adi Madhure Shuti Dira Vekshite Nasa Sastana Yuktingscha Ta Lobat Utpatti Lakshanam. So at that time, then when one hears Harikatha, then loathe, greed, genuine greed, because now there is nishta in bhajan life, tal lobat utpatti lakshanam. The quality of genuine greed arises. It's at this point that it is the entrance way, more or less, to the practice of Raganuga Sadhana. Because now there is some genuine taste. The first part of that taste will come in bhajan itself. Therefore, the aspects of Shravan, Kirtan, Smaran, right, will become intensified in the heart and in the practice of that devotee. After that period, then coming into a Sakti, a strong greed in the object of your bhajan starts to take place. And then, of course, in Bhav Bhakti, Suda Sattva Visheshat Mahaprem Suryamsa Samyabha, Ruchivis Chittamasminya, Pirasvabhavuchite, when Swarup Shakti will descend in the heart of the devotee by the kripa of Bhagavan and by the endeavors of the jiva, at that time the heart becomes illumined with Suda Sattva. At that time there is some clear realization. Even in previous stages something will come, but at that stage clear realization of what is my Swarup, what is the nature of Bhagavan Swarup, what is the nature of Krishna's Nam, Rup, Gun, Lila, etc. Those things become clarified in the stage of Bhavavas. So in that stage of Bhav, it becomes then Seva Sarika Rupena Siddha Rupena Chatri, because now one has some realization of their Siddharup and they can practice accordingly. So Raganuga permeates our whole practice. It's just a matter of maturation. So the line that we're in is not the practice of Vaidhi Bhakti. Now let me clarify something here. The word Vaidhi comes from Vidhi. Vidhi means rules and regulations. And Shruti Smriti Puranadi Panturata Vidamida Akantaki Hari Bhakti Utpat Yaiva Eva Kalpate. Everyone has to follow some rules and regulations. Shravanam Kirtanandani, Vaidhi Bhakti Sudanti too. Even in the practice of Raganuga Sadhana, one doesn't give up the rules and regulations of Bhakti. So that is also partly a misconception that, once I'm doing Raganuga Bhakti, I no longer need to chant the, fixed number of rounds. I don't need to attend Mangalarati or do morning seva, etc. There's nothing anywhere in Shastra written like that. Only some things will be adjusted. And that you can read. I don't want to go into so many details here, but what is Nyas, what is Doka Dhyan, all these things, there will maybe, those things will not be prominent. But you should read to understand those things. Anyway, so I just wanted to give an idea what it is that is Raganuga Bhakti, because to talk about eligibility to practice it, at least we have to know what it is. And so I'm kind of paraphrasing here. It's really time for, usually it's time for my own personal study at this time, but I thought I would do this early because I have quite a busy day today. So hopefully that answers somewhat the questions, one about our purifying ourselves by the use of bhakti. No, actually we're not purifying ourselves. We're putting ourselves in a position to be purified by the mercy of Guru and Vaishnavas. In far as Raganuga Bhakti, I tried to describe basically what is Rag, then what is Raganuga, what is Vaidhi Bhakti, so that that's clear. The fact that we are practicing Raganuga Pravritti, which means we're on the progressive path of Raganuga, but our eligibility has not manifested yet. We are still in various stages of Anushtita Bhakti, right? And because of that, we are practicing all the rules and regulations, everything, in a progressive march towards the stage of Ruchi, going through Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya. A byproduct of Bhajan is the removal of anarthas. Anartha Nivritti is not a separate endeavor. When you do bhajan, anarthas are removed by the influence of the mercy coming from bhajan life. Then nishta. And then in nishta, when the mind and the chitta are somewhat steady, then when harikatha comes, some illumination from that harikatha can penetrate the heart. And at that time, a great taste comes in bhajan life. And then later on, coming into a sakti, a great taste for the object of bhajan manifests. And then gradually the descent of Swarup Shakti and the entrance into Bhav. And at that time, one has clarity about their Swarup, about the nature of Bhagavan Swarup, etc. And one can practice in sincerity Raganuga Bhajan. So many times I've heard the question asked, and there's a kind of discouraging mood taken towards it. I think it perhaps better to clearly explain what it is, and people can then get a sense of where they are and understand where they need to go in terms of understanding the practice of Raganuga Bhakti. To discourage it only creates still an absence of clarity about what it is, and therefore it gives a lingering curiosity which may try to be satisfied prematurely. And that's not a good thing, because that may lead to Prakriti Sahajavad, so many other things. So I've done my best just in a short way to describe what Rag is, what is Raganuga, etc. And hopefully that will be helpful to that devotee. So again, I've answered some of these questions on this format because other than that, I was spending a lot of time typing back and forth individual messages. The other thing is, by doing it on this format, it avails myself to correction as well, and it is also helpful for me in that way. All right, my Dandavat Pranam devotees. Jai Radhe Radhe.